Hey folks, welcome to the final day of launch week. I hope you have tuned into our previous streams and liked what we have shipped till now. Today we have with us Raj, who will be talking about the latest AWS integrations feature which we have launched. The goal here was to make the integrations with the AWS stack as easy as possible and enable our customers and users to get data from that very intuitively. So we have worked a lot on making that experience smooth, and Raj has worked really hard on making this alive. So yeah, welcome Raj, and give us some context on what we thought about on designing this feature, what were the key sort of design criteria and how we went about it.
So, as you mentioned, a lot of our users like to get all their telemetry into SigNoz so they can see it all in one pane. And what that basically translates to is that since AWS and all its managed services sort of send telemetry logs and metrics to CloudWatch, so it basically translates to putting together components that can take telemetry from CloudWatch and ship it to SigNoz. Now, this process is something that's done even today, and it's done by running those components yourselves by going into AWS and spinning up a collector or spinning up, a firehose instance or metric streams, for example. This can be, to an extent, made easier with infrastructure as code. Like you can use CloudFormation to make it slightly easier to get all those components up in one go. But this still makes you, sort of responsible for managing those components. So let's say you want to stop collecting metrics. Now you have to remember everything that you had created and you have to go delete it. You have to find that stack, you have to go delete it. Let's say you add new instances of your DBs, right? For instance, so if you add more DB instances, you have to remember, okay, new DB instances have been added. Their logs are now going to some different log groups, new log groups that you hadn't accounted for till now. So you need to find, go set things up again so that, okay, logs are being taken from those new log groups and being sent to SigNoz. So apart from, so if you think about it, this made for a lot of management. And it also required you to sort of have a decent understanding of what AWS is, how those components work. We have tried to make all of this simpler. We want people to be able to take the convenience of CloudFormation, and so that you can in just a few clicks, you can set things up. And also add a level of AutoDiscovery so that as new components come in, they are automatically plugged in. So the overall goal has been to reduce the pain involved in getting data from CloudWatch to SigNoz.
Yeah, I remember when we were designing, sort of thinking about this feature, I think one of the core objectives for us was to make it as simple as possible for users to get started, because we saw with our current sort of integrations approach we had, people were although we had all the docs needed and steps mentioned, people would get stuck in simple steps and find things troublesome to navigate, right? So I think that has been the sort of overarching design philosophy here, to make it as simple as possible. And I think you have done some lot of engineering work to make sort of abstract all the complexity out from the users and make it as simple as possible, right? So yeah, this sounds interesting. Show us the demo. How does it look like? What people can do?
So I'm going to share my screen. Right. So this is the AWS Integrations view. And this feature is really fresh right now. By the way, we are adding support for new services every week. And you can find this feature by going to the integrations item in the side app, and in the integrations list, you will you can search for the AWS integrations, and that item will appear, and you can then come here. Before we get started, we should roughly understand how this will work at a high level, which is basically that you will connect AWS accounts to SigNoz. And in order to connect an AWS account to SigNoz, we start by installing a SigNoz AWS Integration Agent in the AWS account. That agent then becomes responsible for bringing up any needed pieces of plumbing or the components needed to take metrics and logs from CloudWatch and send them to SigNoz. So let's try integrating an account.
And this agent, is it like a hotel agent, or is it a custom application which you have written?
It's a custom application that we've written. And the agent is roughly going to do everything that you would have had to do manually. So the agent now knows everything that needs to be done. The knowledge that was in the docs is roughly in the agent. Right. So let's try integrating an account. We start by deciding where do we want to install the agent, like which region in our account. So let's say I go for US East 2. And then we also want to decide which regions we want to collect telemetry from, because you may have many regions in it, while only some of them may be interesting. So let's say I select 2 regions, or okay, let's go for West. Yeah. And what this does is now we are ready to launch a CloudFormation template that will install our agent in US East. And then the agent will talk to SigNoz, listen to what configuration you want, like which services you want to collect logs for, which services you want to collect metrics for. And depending on what you have configured in SigNoz, the agent will bring the required components up in AWS. So on clicking that link, I am arriving at my AWS account that I've prepared just for this demo. So as you see, a stack creation dialog has been pre-populated with a name for the stack, and the URLs and the keys that you would have had to go figure out yourselves have already been figured out for you, and they have been auto-populated.
So how do these keys get translated? So basically this agent is talking to SigNoz Cloud and then getting all the credits from there and populating here?
Yes, not the agent in this case. So if you remember in the last step, we were in SigNoz, and right there itself, we sort of figured out which particular params need to be there, and we populated all of that before arriving here. So with all of that figured out, all we need to do is say that we are ready and create the stack. We also need to acknowledge that this stack will contain some roles, and those roles basically allow our agent to bring up the needed plumbing for sending telemetry from CloudWatch to SigNoz. And that plumbing, in our case, roughly translates to a firehose instance and required metric streams and required log subscriptions, like CloudWatch log subscriptions. So the agent will have just enough permissions to bring up and bring down a single firehose stream for logs, a single firehose stream for metrics, and create any necessary log subscriptions and metric streams. So with that, our stack is now being created. And this usually takes about 2 minutes. We can see what all is being created. There's a log group for the agent to log to. The agent runs as an ECS container right now. There are networking components for running that agent. And then there is a role for creating and managing a SigNoz firehose instance. And there's a role for creating metric stream or log subscriptions. And this role allows them to write to the SigNoz firehose instance. And all of these things were the things that you would have had to sort of figure out through docs or manage your own CloudFormation stacks.
So what this is essentially doing is doing all the stuff for you.
Yes. And to an extent, you can do a bunch of stuff through CloudFormation templates. But even then, that approach still doesn't do auto-discovery for you. So for instance, if you have RDS instances being spun up over time, then at any point of time, the new instance will end up creating new log groups. And if you had not, like you couldn't have, right? Because that log group didn't exist before. So if you had not created components to get data from that log group to SigNoz, now after creating a DB instance, you have to go and create another stack with a new CloudFormation template. So all of that is also automated away because the agent now is intelligent enough to know, okay, a new DB instance has come up. Here's a new log group that has been created for that DB instance. And then the agent creates the necessary log subscription by AutoDiscovery.
So we are enabling this this intelligence in the agent itself, like the ability to do auto-discovery of different log groups and then sort of populating the CloudFormation and then enabling sending logs.
Yes.
For those also.
Yes.
Interesting.
So
is it like sort of just polling and then getting like all the log groups, or like how is it?
Yeah. Right now it just polls. Every once in a while it checks, okay, what are the latest log groups that are related to RDS instances. And if it sees new ones, then it can, for instance, get logs in. If RDS log collection was enabled in SigNoz.
Got it. And am I assuming similar things will be enabled for other managed services also, where you have
Yes.
like multiple log groups, and then we can put that intelligence there also, right?
Yeah. And the convention for log groups, for instance, can be prefix based, and sometimes it can be custom. Like there are services where they can have an arbitrary path for log groups. So all of that will be added to the agent over time. Like the agent will be made smarter so that it can go read. Okay, fine. This service doesn't log to a standard log group, but I can look at the description of the service to know exactly which particular log group it's logging to. So all of that intelligence will also be built into the agent over time.
Got it. Since we are talking about agent a lot, I can't escape that. Can we bring AI agents here?
But the word agent in the telemetry domain is slightly different from the word agent. Yeah, I think at some point even that word will be too overloaded. Yes.
Got it. Got it.
Right. So our stack is ready. It's been created. Now, if we go back to uh, the SigNoz instance, like where we came from, you'll see that, okay, the account connection is done. And now we can continue to configuring our services. Right. So let's say I'm going to go enable metric collection for logs and so for EC2, and I'm going to enable metric collection and log collection for RDS.
So what is, like, can you talk about like what is this metric collection and log collection? Like what are we collecting? For
Right.
example, let's say for RDs.
So for RDS, for all the RDS instances being run by AWS, AWS has a standard set of metrics that it sends to CloudWatch into a particular namespace. And when we enable metrics collection for RDS, what we are saying is, okay, bring up a firehose instance for sending data to SigNoz, create a metric stream to stream metrics from the RDS namespace through firehose to SigNoz. And all of this will be created by the agent itself on our behalf. And similarly for logs, when we said enable log collection, we are basically saying monitor all the log groups that get created for RDS instances, take that log data and send it to us.
Got it. Makes sense.
Right. To illustrate what is happening in the background because of this, you can now look at our CloudFormation stacks. So in this case, the integration agent was installed using one stack, and now the agent has brought up another stack, which will be responsible for the actual shipping of telemetry. And if you see, it has created a metric stream. It has created a delivery stream, a firehose delivery stream. So the metric stream sends data to the firehose delivery stream, and the data then comes to SigNoz. Similarly, a firehose stream has been created for logs, and we have a log subscription filter that will basically bring in RDS logs through that firehose instance to SigNoz. And this stack has been created not only in this region, but every region that we wanted to monitor. So we had enabled North California as well.
So you can enable monitoring on different regions in like one go.
Yes. When we were connecting our account, we had defined the regions that we wanted to connect.
Yeah.
Right. So right now, for instance, we are only collecting from 2. But if I were to enable US East 2 as well, US East 1 as well, then the agent will go and create the necessary components in US East. I don't have to go and run another CloudFormation.
Interesting. So if a customer has infra in like multiple regions and data centers, that becomes much easier for them to now.
Yeah. And especially if you are bringing in a new region, for example, let's say you spent a lot of time configuring, okay, I want to collect this from this service, this from that service, and you add a new region. Then you just have to click a button here.
Got it. That's pretty cool. I think that would help users a lot. Cool. You were showing something in the like integration. I had one question there. So in the integration telemetry which was created, do we have different for each service? Do we have something for logs, or is it like one firehose for metrics, one firehose for logs, and one firehose for traces?
There's only one per signal. So one firehose for logs and one firehose for metrics.
And then suppose we add like more services like say Aurora, etc.
Yeah, so all logs will go to the logs firehose and all metrics will go to the metrics firehose.
Got it. All right. Makes sense.
So now we can wait for data to show up in our account. And as you can see, some RDS data is now being received. and we can go and take a look at. Yeah, it's yet to. So metrics might take a while to arrive, but yeah, for instance, the logs are here. Every service has its own cadence of sending metrics over. So sometimes it can take up to 5 to 10 minutes to see some metrics. And it also depends on the instance settings. Like some instances, like you can change the duration of metric data points for a particular instance. So depending on those settings, you will see data at a particular frequency.
So the 5 to 10 minutes is only for the initial setting, or
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah. So when we start collecting metrics, like it may take like the first samples to arrive itself, like the first sample that happens after our connection might itself be a minute or two or something.
But after that, it will be like
Yeah.
very quick.
Yeah, it will be like all the data. If the service is logging every 1 minute, or if the service is creating a metric data point every 1 minute, then we'll have a data point every 1 minute. Of course, within an hour, we'll have enough data points for the dashboard to start being, much, let's say, more interesting. While we are waiting for the data, let me connect another account. So we can connect multiple AWS accounts if we have them. So even in this case, I'll install in US East. I will collect from my 2 regions.
So this is again deploying CloudFormation in that AWS account.
Well, now we'll have a new agent in the second AWS account.
And what are we trying to show here?
I just want to illustrate that we can connect multiple accounts.
Okay.
Uh,
So if you're showing something, we are on the ad waiting.
right.
Yeah.
So we can wait here, or we can go to something else as well. The account will automatically show up once it's connected. So let's just stop waiting for now. It will show up in this drop down once it's done. So logs are coming in. Our dashboards are showing up. Right.
And
so
these dashboards were automatically created, right? So as soon as
Yes.
you initiated that integration and that was created properly, this dashboard was automatically created, and you're already getting data from those dashboards now, and you're able to see the charts.
Yes.
What does this logged mean in the bottom? I see that's something called log.
Right. So the dashboards that are populated by integrations are logged, like because they are fixed static data. But we can always clone them. And when we clone them, well, basically we can export the JSON and like copy it and create a whole new dashboard. And then we can edit that if we want.
And can admins unlock these dashboards, or it is system log?
As of now, it's just log.
Okay, got it.
Right. So as you can see, the data has started coming in, and over time it will start seeing a lot more detail.
So these are metrics-based dashboards. Do you have anything like logs-based dashboards also, or?
Not yet. But yeah, we will be adding logs-based, like we'll be adding better parsing for logs over time. For instance, this entire format can be parsed. And so we'll be bundling in pipelines with the integration.
Yeah.
All of that is on the roadmap.
Yeah, I think because we know how exactly the data is coming, we can create the pipelines necessary for that integrations and parse it automatically and then start showing this data also.
And then we can have dashboards on top of that.
Got it. Is the other AWS account connected?
Yes. So the other account has also finished connecting. We are here. The data also should start coming in for it as well in a while.
Cool. So this looks pretty cool. I think this should be very interesting for users to get set up very easily. Especially, I think the AutoDiscovery part where you don't have to spend timing on figuring out which are the log rows which are sending data. So yeah, thanks for building this. And what's next for this feature? Like, what are the next plans?
So this feature is really, really fresh, by the way. Like this sidebar is relatively empty. We are adding more and more services every week. And over time, the agent will get smarter. apart from just collecting telemetry, the agent can start collecting metadata about your instances. For instance, like in the case of EC2, you can start getting all kinds of tags that you had set up on that, instance. In fact, the more permissions we grant to the agent, the smarter it can keep on getting. It could reach into your EKS cluster and configure things for you if you wanted. Sky's the limit, actually.
Got it. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. And I think we are also planning to, once this matures a bit, we'll also get into GCP and Azure-based integrations, and that would help customers on Azure and GCP to get data more easily.
Yeah, because the act of configuring an integration like that, plumbing of sending data from CloudWatch to SigNoz is like a side quest in a average a regular developer's life, right? We are here to set up my observability system. I'm not here to learn what the nitty-gritties of how to send data. So our goal is to make it easy so that you can focus on your main quest and not be bogged down by the side quest of getting data, figuring out how to get it from one place to another.
Yeah, cool. I think this looks pretty interesting. Anything you have for the community, like anything you want to share with the community before we close down?
Yeah, just keep talking to us. One more thing. This is only available in cloud right now. And with time, we'll make it available to OSS users as well.
Yeah, so I think the plumbing is basically the same, but because we are just launching it, we'll first start with the cloud users, test it a bit, mature this a bit, and then launch to the OSS community. I think as Raj said, would love to hear your feedback. What you think? What are the next services we should add first? I think that is very important for us to get prioritize what you want to see first. I think we have started the AWS RDS. We have some other list of services which we want to add first, but would be very helpful if you can share, was it helpful? Are you facing any issues using this? And which are the services you would need first? And feel free to reach out to us on our Slack community or on our GitHub. And thanks for joining in for the talk. And thanks, Raj, for building this. Cool. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.